Hello, everyone. Looked at a different web article versus the one that was from the different.com. It was very good, but here it's a little more straightforward, and it has some pretty good differences. So, Linux, Windows versus Linux with distros. Which is basically just different versions of distributors. There's just so many different iterations with Linux, and it's just a lot more complex. Just so many different versions of it. With Windows, you just simply have Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, which is a lot more easier. With that Linux, with the Linux kernel, you just have so many different versions made by different people because it's open source. So many people change it all the time. It's just with an open source, it's just there's so many different versions of it. That it's no cost, but some of them could be poorly made, some of them could be really good, others could be like just like a Windows copycat. So it's not really as good as some people might think. Installation. Windows, you had to load it directly into the computer. But with Linux, you can shove it or burn it onto a DVD or USB, and you can load the OS without having to basically download it into your computer or PC, which is probably, I would have to say, a lot more better. Moving on again, we're gonna go with with software and compatibility. Unfortunately, because Windows is more okay by like almost 90% more mainstream than a Linux one. There's just a lot of apps that Linux is just incompatible with. So we have a lot more different apps basically. That are just basically like free, like made up ones to help compensate for it. But a lot of them could be like really, really bad if you don't know what you're looking for. With Windows, you have Microsoft Office 365 and Adobe Fire on Photoshop, which are just very good, very reliable programs because we're already familiar with them. It was what schools teach you how to use a lot, so it's a lot more better in that sense. And even arguably, Windows is better for gaming too. I mean, considering the fact that there's just a lot more compatibility with Windows. It's just that's just the answer to it. Support. Linux has basically a fan base. It's kind of the only way they can say it. They always love changing with it. Love trying to make it better. Microsoft is just it's just better. It's just better for easier users and things like that. It's just a lot more simpler, but a lot more of diehards for Linux supporters to help keep it running and give you tips, basically, like it says here, tips, tricks, and forums and tutorials to help you with. And so we'll move on to security, and because Windows is more wider, it means hackers like to hack into Windows more than they do Linux. I mean, there could be some versions of the Linux software that could be easily hacked into, but generally, because it's less common, your system won't go after it. I basically got that off the other one, um, let's move on here. User friendliness, and now this one's kind of because there's like us in in our computer class. Most of us just really don't know honestly how to use a well, most of us know how to use a computer. A lot of other people really honestly kind of don't. They might not even know how to use a mouse. I mean, it's very not as common these days, but for people that are not like diehard computer fans, we're not going to like basically like we know how to operate. We know how to make our computers better. But there's some people that don't, and they say here in this article that Microsoft's just easier at it. Just has it's just, with Windows, it's a lot more simpler, especially with 8 and 10 now. With Linux, you just gotta get used to all the differences, especially if this is your first time using Linux and having to get used to what's different about it versus Windows. But at least most of us in our lifetimes have come across a Windows computer, and that's what makes it a lot more better because it's better organized. It's just a lot more simpler for people that just don't know how to use it. So, what do they say about Windows versus Linux? Well, they just say it's just Windows is probably the better option for most people, even though themselves, with this article says that Linux is just better because it's free. Obviously that's the big thing. Windows 10 was offered for free for a time. I don't think it is anymore. I think you have to pay for it now, but they also have, like they say here, has also reputation as a tool for coding, which is more, excuse me, my style. So, um, yeah, it's flexible. Linux has heightened security. That's why they say it's a favorite. And essentially, they think you should use it if you got the patience to adapt to a new system. But they say here Windows, however, remains the winner in terms of pure convenience. It's simple, familiar, and guaranteed to be compatible with all software. And for like big giant companies that, or even the small ones, that's probably easier. Alrighty, thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next time.